Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters to the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us for week 4 in a row, sort of the adventures of the Icicle. Kind of.
Who knew? This Icicle mini-season.
Exactly.
It must be a winter season.
Icicle April?
No.
No, it doesn't really work because spring is in the air. No, I don't know. Anyway.
A cold spring? Who knows? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Listeners, run to your comic boxes and dig out your copy of Justice League of America, issue 139. You know, the one that was published on the 4th of November, 1976, partway through the broadcast of the Doctor Who story, The Deadly Assassin. Yes, that one.
Ooh.
And while you do so, Peter will tell us about the cover.
We have a red DC bullet in the top left corner. The world's greatest superheroes. 50 cents, number 139, February, production code 30555, approved by the Comics Code Authority. We are reading a giant Justice League of America. 2 all-new novels, 13 superheroes, 5 master villains. That's all the blurb on the cover. But what's actually happening in the cover? It's a Neil Adams cover. It is gorgeous.
Yes. Do you remember how I used to keep count of how many Neil Adams covers we had?
Oh, we haven't had one in ages. Yeah, huh?
And I can't remember what my last total was.
You're going to have to go back and listen to the previous 304 episodes and tally them up.
Yes, okay. Right, I'll go and do that now while you continue describing the cover.
So, we have some assembled Justice Leaguers, and they seem to be under attack by some beams of light.
So they are.
Some yellow laser beams, yeah. But it's having an effect on them. Some of them are turning into phantoms. Batman, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman are all phantomed out as Black Canary, Green Arrow, Hawkman, and the Flash are being shot. My goodness, the Flash is starting to fade into phantomhood.
Gosh.
And a phantom Superman is trying to catch him. And he's saying,
"Our JLA pals are being shut down before our eyes, and there's nothing we can do to save them."
And in the grand old tradition of the Earth 2 podcast, that's not the story we're going to be talking about.
No, it isn't, because at this point, listeners, a few of the DC books have been bumped up to this giant size. Eventually, once JLA settles in, the comics become full-length stories. Mm-hmm. In this case, it's 2 regular-length stories been packaged together. The first one, we're not going to be reading, involves Adam Strange, following on from issue 138, but we are going to be reading the second story. So flick to exactly the middle pages of the comic and cast your eyes to the right, as the caption says.
It's been fun, folks. 11,000 years of warm weather and the simultaneous ascent of man. But now, things seem to be changing all around us. Just ask the Justice League of America. They know only too well that the Ice Age cometh.
Gosh, quite a lot happening in this opening splash image. We can see what looks like an area which has some foliage and forestry going on, but it's under a blanket of snow and ice, and we can see people obviously suffering in the cold. There's a man in the foreground looking appalled as he looks at us. Maybe he's just worried about his moustache being cold. And we can see a family with a young child. The young child is wrapped up. The mother looks very concerned. We can see a lot of other people in the background. They all seem to be shouting and panicking. And flying in to this scene are the members of the Justice League of America. We can see Wonder Woman coming in her invisible jet. We can see Green Lantern flying down, conjuring a bubble which is bearing the Flash, Elongated Man, Aquaman, Green Arrow, Black Canary and Batman. Superman is flying down with the Atom perched on his shoulder, and Hawkman is flying down. And just to back all of this up, we get a little caption with the roll call, which we'll now read in the traditional style.
Superman.
Batman.
Wonder Woman.
Flash.
Green Lantern.
Green Arrow.
Black Canary.
Hawkman.
Aquaman.
Atom.
Elongated Man.
And there's a question mark. And then we get a very small caption with the credits for this issue.
Steve Englehart, author. Dick Dillon and Frank McLaughlin, artists. Julie Schwartz, editor.
And as the Leaguers take in the credit caption, they're all flying down and Superman looks at everything and says, "Great Krypton! The devastation here is unbelievable. It's the mutant phase." That's what it is. And over the page a caption reads,
"Scene. Not the North or South Pole. No, this is Quito, Ecuador, right on the equator.
And we see Superman and the Atom alighting, Wonder Woman leaping down from her jet, and the Flash obviously coming to a halt, all in the middle of a snowdrift, which is not the sort of thing you expect to see at the equator, is it? Let's be honest. The Flash is saying,
It's true then. One of the world's warmest areas has undergone a complete temperature inversion.
Complete temperature inversion. Let's get the band that supported menswear joke out of the way on the second page of the story. Wonder Woman says, in words of one syllable, Mr. Police Scientist, it's cold, where it should be hot.
That's what I said, Diana.
And then we see a gentleman who looks an awful lot like Roy Thomas to me, running up, wearing a brown suit, green scarf wrapped around his neck, it's flapping in the breeze as he moves. He runs up to the heroes and says,
Gracias a Dios, the Justice League. Now our rescue operations can begin in earnest. I am Esteban Corazon, El Presidente de Ecuador. My troops and the Red Cross have done wonders, but the ice is advancing so swiftly.
To which the Caped Crusader says,
News reports say this began just hours ago. I take it there's still no explanation for it. None, Batman, but there is only the undeniable reality. You cannot imagine what it has been like. My land was at peace. The future seemed secure. And now, this insane upheaval. I had never thought to meet you, Justice League. At most, you were a myth from another world. Something I must confess to even burlesque when our patriotism needed pump priming.
And the Leaguers all stand wondering what the heck Peter's just said, as El Presidente concludes,
I believe in you now.
Yep. Great shot of the team. Top of the next page, Superman says, We'll do our best, Senor Presidente. Green Lantern says, I can help melt the ice, Superman. Power ring style. Flash says,
Super speed will add to that.
Aquaman chips in with,
You and I can make canals to carry the water to the sea, Superman.
nice to hear from Aquaman. We've not seen him in a very long time. The Winged Wonder himself, Hawkman, contributes.
The rest of us will handle rescue work.
And stirring things as always, Green Arrow says,
And the ladies can tend to the wounded.
and then we see Wonder Woman and Black Canary reacting in horror as they both say, What? And Green Arrow looks very shifty as he says,
That was wrong, huh?
And then we see Wonder Woman and Black Canary taking their leave, with Wonder Woman saying, Come on, Dinah, let's bring him the wounded. Right with you, Diana, says Black Canary. Hawkman turns to Green Arrow, who looks utterly perturbed, and says,
It's as I've always said. Green Arrow's vaunted social conscience ends where his mouth begins.
And Ollie replies,
Go lay an egg, bird brain.
There's a quick, slow dissolve.
And so, the world's greatest heroes start another working day.
Yes, we see Soups and Hal flying off, Barry running off, Ollie jogging along. Looks like he's inherited the atom on his shoulder. Ralph stretching as he moves, and Arthur looking like he's about to dive into a pool or something. Over the page. Right, now, what we see in this next few panels is Green Arrow and Wonder Woman coming to the help of some people, and Batman and Green Arrow coming to help of some people, and Superman digging this canal that Aquaman was talking about, and he's got some porpoises or dolphins or something helping. We see Ralph stretched out full like a big chute to let some people who've been trapped on a high level slide down him. And then we see Green Arrow, astonishing, using an arrow which is fired from his bow to transport someone who's injured through the air to Wonder Woman. And while all this is going on, a caption reads,
You know, league is a strange word. It's something less than a team, but something far more than a mob. Everyone here is an individual with his own career, her own concerns. Yet, let the menace be monstrous enough and see how they flow together, as if they'd never been apart. Justice triumphs over all. Only sometimes it takes longer than others.
And then we cut to a panel showing Wonder Woman presumably just having caught the person that Green Arrow fired at her, and Aquaman leaning in to speak to Superman, where he says,
This isn't going to work, Superman. The cold area's growing. The water's refreezing before it can go anywhere.
Green Lantern drops into sight, saying, No matter what we do, we can't escape the surrounding air. Even the water that evaporates falls right back to Earth as hail. Elongated Man, stretching in, contributes, But we can't just give up. Soups replies to Elongated Man, saying, Nobody's talking about giving up, Ralph. We just have to discover the cause of all this. And at this point, El Presidente runs back in, looking like he's holding a walkie-talkie at a radio or something. He runs in crying,
Superman, Superman! Pardon me, senors, but listen to this broadcast from the Voice of America.
And El Presidente holds up his radio and a voice can be heard saying, And authorities have no clue to the thieves' whereabouts. Once again, they left police a taunting note signed Captain Cold, Minister Blizzard, and the Icicle before escaping. And then Wonder Woman cuts in, saying, Minister Blizzard? Here, help me. I haven't thought of him in years. And an asterisk takes us to a caption which reads,
His last appearance was in Wonder Woman issue 162. Julie.
Reflecting on this, the Flash says,
I wish I could say the same for Captain Cold.
There we see Canary speaking to Green Arrow, where she says, But the Icicle! Ollie, he's from Earth too. That means I can find somebody I know for once. And another asterisk takes us to a caption that reads,
The Black Canary was born on the parallel world designated Earth 2, coexisting with Earth 1 but in a different vibratory dimension. Julie.
Flash then says in response to what Dinah just said,
Fight? What about our problem here?
Obviously, Flash, says a very angry-looking Wonder Woman, the two menaces are related. Or is that going too fast for you? And then she stews as the Flash and Green Arrow look at her with rather inscrutable expressions, it must be said. Top of the next page, Green Arrow points at the Flash, Black Canary and Wonder Woman and says,
Listen, Soups, these three should sit back to the States and I'll go along to keep an eye on them. The rest of you keep coping with the disaster. We'll be enough for the bad guys.
Fine, Arrow, says Soups. Go to it. Then he whispers to Batman, who's standing close by, saying, The way Diana's been acting, he picked a hard job.
Too true,
says Bats, and there's a slow dissolve.
Meanwhile, in an unnamed warehouse near the wharves of a pleasantly brisk Gotham City,
you see an enormous, glittering, shining jewel being held in the palm of a very white-skinned hand, as a voice can be heard saying,
The Minerva Diamond. Its beauty alone is worth all our efforts, gentlemen. A toast to the Ice Age of world crime.
And the camera pulls out to show the very familiar figure of Captain Cold, the slightly less familiar figure of the Icicle, who obviously we've just encountered in a few issues of All-Star Comics, and with them is a gentleman who is either dressed completely in white or his skin is completely white, and I don't mean as in Caucasian, I mean completely white, as white as snow, to reference a good episode of Captain Scarlet. He's wearing blue trunks, has a blue cape, is wearing a sort of blue crown with sort of sideburns that come down at the side of his ears.
Yeah.
Blue boots, gold gauntlets and a gold waistband, and it's him who's raising the toast. Captain Cold replies saying, Easy for you to say, Blizzard. You were born to cold weather. I just make use of it.
Now, Captain. The minister wasn't talking about the trouble in South America.
How do you know he wasn't, Icicle? How, for that matter, do any of us know we haven't started a new ice age in my Earth? The minister stands up in the next panel.
Oh, so that's it, is it? Your Earth. Simply because the Icicle does not abide in this dimension, and I thrive in cold, you doubt our integrity? I assure you, sir, Minister Blizzard is a man of honour. Nobody's holding out on you, Captain Cold. Don't cross us up now, right at the final score.
Well, all right. I guess the two biggest jewels in the world are worth a little discomfort half a world away. Heck, it's Gotham's fault in the first place. We wouldn't even have teamed up if the locals hadn't been dumb enough to exhibit them both here. Minister Blizzard puts a hand around Captain Cold's shoulder as he says,
That's the spirit, my boy. I promise you, once we're through, Ecuador will be back to normal.
And we shift to another location. It looks like an indoor museum or something to me, as a security guard can be heard saying,
Back to normal soon, Flash. They froze everything when they grabbed the Minerva Stone, but we'll be open again by tonight.
Yes, and what we can see is obviously some displays and cases, I suppose, that have been completely covered in ice. There's a number of security guards working at trying to get the ice off of them. We see Green Arrow, Flash, Black Canary, and Wonder Woman stood. There's another man in a suit standing behind Wonder Woman who says, We've invested too much in this exhibition to close down, even with a robbery. At least the publicity will boost gate receipts. The security guard comes back in, continuing the explanation of what happened in a nice ripply flashback panel as he says,
All of these guys had freeze guns. Captain Cold called his an instant winterizer, I think. They stopped us, cold, in our tracks, and pocketed the diamond at their leisure.
Yes, and there's a shot here of some security guards being zapped by Minister Blizzard and Captain Cold. Back in the present, the Flash says to the security guard,
But what about your other gems, like the Star of Calcutta? Security's been doubled. Look here.
Says the security guard, moving him through an open doorway to see another jewel on a sort of pedestal surrounded by, loads of guys, quite frankly, as the security guard continues.
20 men, ringing the area where it alone is displayed. Columns of laser beams and electric eyes all around its pedestal. Believe me, even another frontal assault by those maniacs couldn't reach this diamond.
And then suddenly, Flash and the security guard whirl around as a voice yells behind them, "Hands up!" And our perspective shifts to show Flash, the security guard, Black Canary and Wonder Woman all looking at Captain Cold, Minister Blizzard and the Icicle. Security guard can't believe it. He says,
"No, it can't be."
And Minister Blizzard says,
"Good day again, guard. I see you weren't really expecting us a second time."
And Icicle contributes,
"I wasn't expecting the Justice League. I thought they were in South America."
Black Canary leaps forward towards the Icicle saying, "We heard you come out of retirement, Icicle, and I couldn't let us pass like ships in the night." Icicle fires his gun at Canary as he says,
"A lot you know, Canary. I've been as busy as ever on our Earth."
And an asterisk takes us to a caption which reads,
As we'll see in upcoming issues of All-Star Comics, Julie, or indeed the most recent episodes of our podcast.
Yes, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey. Canary manages to dodge the blast from the gun, kicking the Icicle in the chin with a very satisfying "Patow!" She says, "This is my Earth now, Icy. All I need to know is that you're finished being busy here." Wonder Woman, Canary and the Flash now turn their attention towards Captain Cold, who addresses them all saying, "Hello, Flash. Haven't seen you since the top died." And asterisk takes us to yet another continuity caption that reads,
In Flash 244, Julie.
Flash, zooming in towards Cold, says,
"I thought you were still in Central City Prison, Captain."
"No, I have a few friends in low places who help me out." And guess what, folks? There's another asterisk to another caption that reads,
Undoubtedly, the Secret Society of Supervillains, Julie.
As Cold continues, "Not that I really need a lot of help." And he fires his cold gun, creating a massive wall of ice right in front of the Flash, who's running towards him. And Flash thinks,
A wall of ice! Can't stop!
and there's a spectacular
Crash!
sound effect as the Flash obviously slips and collides bottom first with the wall of ice. Goodness me.
Ouch!
In the background, we see Wonder Woman turning her attention to her freezing foe as she says, "Don't you have anything to say, Blizzard, for all time's sake?"
I do not regard our former duels with pleasure, Wonder Woman. You have thwarted some of my very finest schemes. Thus, you must die.
And we're continued on the second page following. We pass a very seasonal advertisement for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Was that a tabloid or was it just a comic? I can't remember.
Just this jam-packed holiday edition.
I'll have to go looking for that one on Mike's or eBay to find out.
Yes.
Returning to the action, Minister Blizzard fires a blast of cold energy above Wonder Woman. She ducks out of the way, grabbing her lasso. She says, "Missed, madman! You only hit a light!" And obviously that's burst above her. And then she hurls her lasso towards Minister Blizzard, but he leaps out of the way, saying,
Great Phrygia! I daren't allow her magic lasso to encircle me.
We cut back in the next panel to the man in the suit, who's obviously the manager of the exhibition, talking to one of the security guards as he says, "They're wrecking the exhibit guard. Are the lasers still working?"
Yes, sir. No matter what happens, we're safe.
And in the background, we see Canary closing again on the Icicle as the Icicle says,
You move like a house of fire, Canary. So I better cool you off.
and he zaps Canary again with his cold gun, and she freezes into a block of ice with an amazing
Froze
sound effect. Canary gets a close-up as she thinks, "In the old days, this would have stopped me. But that was before I got my sonic song." And she opens her mouth and starts to sing.
Her throat throbs. Sweet pulsing music fills the hall. The ice shatters.
Canary, bursting loose, says, "There! I'm free! And the icicle," and then Green Arrow cuts in with,
Don't worry, pretty bird. I've got this creep.
and he pulls an arrow and fires at the icicle. Dinah leaps forward saying, "Arrow, no!" As with a
Fuck.
the arrow flies into the barrel of the icicle's gun, which then explodes with an incredible gosh. I'm going to try and make use of that panel in a tweet this week, listeners. Canary is not impressed. She yells in Green Arrow's face, "You idiot! He was mine!" And Oliver obviously looks suitably admonished as we see that Wonder Woman is twirling her lasso and thinking, "I can't catch Blizzard. He is as slick as ice in a stone. But where there's a will," and she looks towards Captain Cold and lassos him as her thoughts conclude, "There is a way. Captain Cold, turn your winterizer on Blizzard." And Cold says, Blast! I am forced to obey! And he turns towards Minister Blizzard, who also brings up his own weapon and says,
Stop! Don't!
and they both fire with an amazing
Plug! Mike plug.
yes, nice reference to the one-time Man-Thing artist. And then we see the next panel that Captain Cold and Minister Blizzard are both frozen solid, trapped in blocks of ice, as the Flash says,
You froze them both, Wonder Woman. Great teamwork.
and a very snarky Wonder Woman replies, Speedster, I didn't see you doing much of any work. Wow. Someone got out the wrong side of bed, didn't she, this week?
Fair, though.
Flash replies,
Now, just a cut and pick a minute, lady. I've had just about enough.
but he's cut off because off camera we hear the voice of the manager as he yells, No, it's impossible. The Star of Calcutta. It's gone. Gone? Cries Canary, and Green Arrow chips in with,
What do you mean? We caught all the bad guys, and anyway, they never got near the pedestal.
the manager and one of his security guards step forward to the dais that the jewel was on, and the manager reaches forward saying, See for yourself. Ow! And he recoils as the guard says,
Don't put your hand in there, sir. The lasers are still on.
and then the Flash gets a very moody Irv Novick style close-up as he says,
Somehow, team, somehow, we've been snookered. But how?
and there is a slow dissolve as a caption reads.
2 hours later.
And we cut to Green Lantern, Aquaman, and the Atom. How long's it been since we had the Atom in a story?
Oh, it's been quite a while.
It feels like forever. Green Lantern, gesturing with his ring, it seems to be creating some kind of giant disc behind him. He's in the process of saying, It won't work, Atom. No matter what size lens I work up, the sun's rays can't warm the area enough to matter. Nice idea, anyway. And a very forlorn-looking Atom replies, That's all we had. Nice ideas, but they weren't bright enough to keep the cold from spreading. If only I could contribute something more valuable. If only I could do something. To which Aquaman, a very Elvis-looking Aquaman, says,
Well, Ray, sometimes powers like ours are too specialised for the job at hand. And sometimes they're the only powers that can help. It evens out.
Does it, Aquaman? Sometimes I wonder, says Atom, looking very sad, head in his hands. We also see at this point that Elongated Man was hanging around with these lads, and he points to show the newly arrived Flash, Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Wonder Woman. Indeed, he reaffirms this as he says, Hey, here come the others! And a caption reads,
After 6 hours of fruitless labour, it's only natural that the ice fighters have high hopes for some relief right about now. So, imagine their surprise.
Yes, and the whole team is basically assembled here, left to right very quickly. Aquaman, Atom, Hawkman, Green Lantern, Batman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Elongated Man, and Superman. Flash is saying,
We questioned the three of them when they came to, but Minister Blizzard just laughed at us, and the others shut up. Cold.
Canary says, Frankly, people, we're at a loss. We're certain there's a tie-in between your case and ours, but what it is and how they stole that diamond have us stumped. Wonder Woman says, There is a piece missing, something right in front of us we can't see.
Yeah, if we could just...
Says Green Arrow, but he's interrupted by his old pal as Hawkman chips in with,
By the silver spires, he's incredible. Huh? What are you babbling about? Our enemy isn't any of those three underlings you people picked up. Suddenly, I saw your missing piece. Or rather, I didn't see. The Shadow Thief. In an instant, all attention rivets the man from the planet Thanagar.
There's a great shot of our hero standing in silhouette as we hear Hawkman monologuing.
Where do you hide a purloined letter? In plain sight, naturally. So said your author, Edgar Allan Poe. The Shadow Thief's dimensiometer. The device which allows him to become a shadow destroys Earth's magnetic field. I was once warned that its continued use could trigger a new ice age. But with those strange ice villains sacking Gotham City, he never entered my mind.
Top of the next page, Batman says,
This has been a case of misdirection right from the start, luring us out of Gotham.
And Minister Blizzard's missed shot that shattered a light and threw a shadow across the diamond exhibit. That's Elongated Man's contribution. As Hawkman says,
The Shadow Thief can reach the gem unseen, and his shadow form wouldn't break the alarm beams.
Green Arrow gets a line.
Congratulations, Buzzardbeak. For once I think you've got something.
Hawkman replies,
Let's go talk to our prisoners again, now that we've got something to talk about.
Our absolute misery guts that is the Atom chips in with, I'll go with you. I'm no use around here, to which GL says, And I'll go too. If we're right, that's the way to stop this ice. And then Superman, looking back over his shoulder in the style of Mike and the Mechanics, says, In the meantime, the rest of us have to keep up rescue operations. Good luck to you all. And hurry.
So, after the Emerald Crusaders' power ring has whisked them once again northward...
Yes, we see the invisible jet and Hawkman in the air. Hal has conjured a bubble that's holding Green Arrow, the Atom, Flash and Black Canary. As they approach their destination, Wonder Woman says, "This is where we left them, Katar."
Minister Blizzard must know the full story, whether the others do or not. We'll talk to him first.
"It may not be that simple, old buddy. Look there," says the Atom as they descend even closer, and he points down at two unconscious security guards. All the heroes have clearly disembarked from the transport. The next panel, as Wonder Woman examines one of the guards, she says, "The guards will be all right, but they were hit hard from the front." And Flash, looking around the building, says,
"And all the power's been cut."
Hawkman, standing in an open doorway looking inside, says,
"Then the Shadow Thief is inside, in the dark. I'll go in first,"
he says, and rushes in, looking from left to right, and then he spots Minister Blizzard, the Icicle, and Captain Cold. Hawkman exclaims,
"Hold it, you three!"
And the Icicle cries,
"Hawkman!"
"With the others right behind," says Captain Cold, and with a
Zoom.
the Flash speeds in with Green Arrow, Green Lantern, the Atom, Wonder Woman and Black Canary. Minister Blizzard says,
"Don't just stand there, fools. We won't have another chance at escape."
Green Arrow quickly says,
"Hit him, Lantern."
"My pleasure, Arrow." And they move forward as the Atom, standing on one of Hawkman's wings, cries, "Hawkman, give me a hand, quick!" We see Canary taking out the Icicle with a very satisfying
clunk
as she says, "This time, I'm making sure I get my man." Wonder Woman looks in Hawkman's direction and thinks, "What in the world is Katar doing? He's throwing something," she thinks as he lunges forward, releasing something from his hand.
At the speed of a well-thrown fastball, the projectile rips towards Captain Cold's parka. And then the tiny Titan switches his weight control to his full 180 pounds.
Yes, and the Atom collides with Captain Cold with an amazing
wham,
sending him falling backwards, as Wonder Woman makes an OK hand gesture in the direction of the Atom, who returns it as she says, "Hola! Well done, Atom!" And we see that the Flash is speeding behind the Atom at this point, and then he draws up, saying,
"Wait, that shadow I just ran through, it wasn't just dark, it was like ice water. I felt that before."
And an asterisk takes us to a caption which reads,
"In JLA 111, Julie."
All these footnotes are very Marvel, aren't they? They
Yes.
feel a little... Anyway, we see that indeed the shadow behind the Flash is taking on a human shape. And it replies to what he said and says, "Yes, Flash, you've found the Shadow Thief." And he looms over them all and says, "I thought you might eventually. When you arrived before I'd finished releasing my stooges, I figured the game was up. I probably should have let them stay here. But they've served me faithfully, if blindly." Captain Cold says to one of his colleagues in the next panel, "What's he talking about, Blizzard?" But it's the Shadow Thief who answers when he says, "Only the Minister knew I was behind the new Ice Age. The others thought he was the mastermind. But none of them knew they were helping me doom the Earth." Minister Blizzard says to the Shadow Thief now,
"What's this?"
"As the Justice League should remember, my real body's in another dimension, even as my shadow speaks to you here. I've never gotten a fair shake on Earth, so now at last I'll have my revenge. I'll keep my dimensiometer on till you freeze solid." The shadow starts to move away as the Flash and Hawkman watch, saying, "I'll be safe and sound, with the jewels but without my shadow, while you become nothing but unpleasant memories. Farewell, fools," and he moves as if to bleed into the other shadows around the room. Hawkman, seeing this, steps forward, saying,
"Stop him! Don't let him melt back into the dark!"
And Flash, punching his fist together in frustration, says,
"Too late! He's gone! I'll scour this whole building!"
And then another voice says, "No need for that, Flash. I have the situation in hand." And we see a caped figure wearing a hat with a massive gold medallion round his neck, a very smart suit, holding onto the Shadow Thief, as Hawkman exclaims,
"The Phantom Stranger!"
And we see the Shadow Thief twitching in the grasp of the stranger as he says, "This is impossible. Nobody can possibly touch me when I'm a shadow." And the stranger leans towards him, saying, "I can do many things others deem impossible, thief. Like this." And he reaches forward as the Shadow Thief cries, "No! Don't turn!" And there's a very satisfying
click
sound effect as we see that the Phantom Stranger has pressed a button on the belt being worn by a dark pointy beard fellow in a purple onesie. We see the Atom standing on the Flash's shoulder, and he says, "He turned off the dimensiometer. The Shadow Thief is back in our dimension, and the Earth is saved." Stranger straightens up, as Green Arrow says,
"Yeah, but we could have done that ourselves, somehow. We didn't need that spooky snooper bursting in at the last minute."
"I was only trying to help you. I felt, facing an impending doomsday, that I was needed." Wonder Woman says at this point, "Does it hurt your ego that your arrows weren't needed, GA?" She is really grumpy this week, isn't she? And the Atom, now perched on Green Arrow's shoulder, replies, "Hey lady, that was uncalled for," as Canary chips in with, "I agree. Take it easy, Wonder Woman." And in the foreground of the panel, we see Captain Cold lamenting, "What have we got ourselves into? These people are as weird as we are." Then the Shadow Thief pipes up with, "Just put me in a cell. In jail, I won't have to listen to all this argument." And then a very angry-looking Green Arrow says,
"You be quiet."
And a caption reads,
Let it be noted that the Phantom Stranger has already made his decision about staying.
and we cut to a panel that is completely black. Nice of the Phantom Stranger to show up. There is a final slow dissolve.
Several hours further along, Senor Corazon has a word for what's occurred today.
Yes, and we see El Presidente standing with assembled members of the Justice League in an Ecuador that is now lush and green and verdant once again. It has been restored. The cold and ice and all of that has gone. And El Presidente says,
"A miracle, truly."
as the captioning returns.
But it might be more accurate to call it just another day's teamwork by a League of Justice.
And underneath that, a very small caption reads,
This one's for Gardner Fox, Mike Sikowski, Bernie Sachs, and good old Julie.
and before we get to the ultimate closing caption, I'm just going to point out, true story, that in that final little thing there, Just Another Day is in fact the name of one of the B-sides and one of the CD singles of Where Do I Stand by the Montrose Avenue.
Of course.
True story. And maybe that's the song we'll play out with this week. And then, right, after all that, the next issue box reads,
Next, more on Wonder Woman's strange snappishness, the taking of Green Lantern, and the other Justice League, all in the first of our all-new double-length classics. No man escapes the Manhunter.
yes, listeners, I have a huge amount of summarising ahead of me as we're about to hit the Englehart Manhunter tying up issues of JLA. I can't wait, something to look forward to. Gosh, well, wasn't that fun?
That was terrific fun. And it's appropriate that it is dedicated to the original creative teams because it's such a retro throwback, but joyous with the modern storytelling. It's great fun.
Yeah.
All the team all splitting up to do their individual things, the villains teaming up as well, the solve the problem plot, which is a classic of Silver Age JLA. It's less about the villains and more about the problem that they have to fix.
Yeah.
And it was terrific. It was like all of that except with more characterization. I loved it. It was superb.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And obviously, Peter and I's reasoning for doing this one was that Earth 2 villain, the Icicle, who has recently obviously appeared in All-Star Comics, appears in this one. And there's some references to the Secret Society, and obviously Canary gets a bit to do, and there's a reference to her being originally from Earth 2. Listeners, what did you think of Peter and I doing impressions of our regular cast members? I was very impressed with Peter's impression of Chuck. I hope that Chuck was impressed. I hope Gav was impressed with my impression of him. I hope Kelly didn't mind me doing an impression of her too badly. I think Kirby and Max got off okay.
Yes.
Yes. It would have been nice to get everyone involved in this one, but we're kind of recording this one very close to release.
We are, yeah.
We didn't really have time to canvass everyone and get their lines, unfortunately. Maybe sometime soon we'll get some more folk back in.
Maybe we'll do a director's cut one day.
But I agree, that was a lot of fun. Very, very satisfying.
Yeah.
Some good character stuff. And Minister Blizzard, is obviously, that's him making his first appearance on the show, I think.
It is.
Was he involved in the new Golden Age era? I can't remember. We might have talked about him then, but that was years ago and I don't recall.
I think he did turn up in that, but it was only one of the stories you might have mentioned in passing. We didn't do any of the actual stories.
Yeah, so we didn't read them. So it's technically his first appearance. And it's nice to see Captain Cold come back.
It is indeed, yeah. We'll see him again fairly soon.
Yeah, because it has been a while since we've done the Secret Society, but be assured, listeners, the next issue will be along before you can say James Robinson.
There's so much jammed into this 1976-1977 period.
Yep, it is absolutely log jammed.
We are kind of like jumping about the timeline just so we can try and make it make sense.
Yes.
So we're not doing things strictly in chronological publishing order, which we have been doing pretty much previously, because we have to try and make sense of the ongoing storylines.
Absolutely, and it's been like that since last year, and really, it's probably for the foreseeable, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
We don't really get much of a let-up until 1979. There's so much going on with All-Star Comics and Freedom Fighters, who are also going to be back very soon, listeners, don't worry.
Yes.
The Dollar Comics are all arriving, which means there's going to be a lot of other stuff we're going to have to do in there. Wonder Woman's about to head back to World War II full-time in her book, so we've still to work out exactly how we're going to do that. There'll probably be a lot of summarising there. But anyway, let's get back to this story.
Yes.
I was kind of intrigued at the Atom's sadness and mopingness, and I wonder if that's tying into what's going on with him in Super Team Family.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, the Atom, let's face it, always think of him as one of the weaker leaguers because his power is shrinking. So you don't really think about him. But he's actually a key member because he can do things that none of the other leaguers can do. Plus, he is a genius scientist as well, which is always handy to have on the team.
Yeah. I mean, I love Ray Palmer because I read a couple of stories that he was in when he was a kid. Like one of his DC Comics Presents, quite an early one, I think the one with the kind of yellow cover. And when you're a 5-year-old boy, the more exciting heroes are the ones that are a little more out there. So his shrinking ability, along with Aquaman being able to swim underwater for ages and breathe underwater at a flash's speed, that's the sort of stuff that appeals to a kid. So it's interesting that the Atom really hasn't been able to carry a regular book over the years. It's a shame because the appeal is there. And I think the Silver Age stuff is probably the best. And you sort of think, they could have just kept going with that. I mean, anyway.
And it was good to see him team up with his old pal Hawkman.
Yes.
And use him. And again, going back to baseball, as Hawkman basically pitches him.
Yes. I enjoyed that very much.
A call back to our 300th episode. Yeah, that was fun.
That was excellent. I'm intrigued at sort of Englehart obviously starting to subplot here because obviously Wonder Woman being a bit, as they said, snappish towards everyone. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to pay close attention to how that's dealt with when I write my extra long summary of the next 3 issues of JLA.
And with some top-notch Hawkman and Green Arrow arguments and, dialogue, it was just superb.
Yeah.
Snappy, bit sarky, but very true to their characters, and it was terrific. I loved that.
Yeah, I think everyone was captured very well.
Yeah.
It's also amusing that the Fandom Stranger rocked up as a sort of Deus Ex Machina at the end to sort of switch off the button on the I mean, I love the fact that he was the only guy who could get a hold of the Shadow Thief. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it adds to the ongoing debate about, whether or not he was actually a member of the team or not,
Yeah, true. Well, he never formally accepted, so, yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure his own book is finished by this point.
Oh, yeah,
And it's nice to see him sort of popping up because, he doesn't really have a regular berth at this point. I'm sure he turns up in a couple of JLAs in this sort of period, so we'll have to keep our eyes open and see if we see him again.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see the Shadow Thief get a little bit more to do compared to his complete non-appearance in Secret Society of Supervillains.
Well, as you suggested, he kind of morphed into Hijack. Hijack, who actually looked a bit like Minister Blizzard, to be honest. Mr. Blizzard almost is like a playing card Jack or King kind of head, which is hilarious.
Yeah, with the crown thing going on. Yeah, I wonder if their costumes were designed by the same people. Who can say? Listeners?
David, can I call your attention to the splash page for this story?
Yes, please do.
If you look at the grey-haired man in the bottom left-hand corner with the big grey moustache, do you not think that looks very much like the MF Enterprises Dr. Fate?
In that he's got grey hair and a moustache. To me, it looks like Mark Twain or someone.
Perhaps it's the MF Enterprises Dr. Fate disguised as Mark Twain.
Yes. Yes.
In Ecuador. Yes,
on holiday in Ecuador. What are the chances of that happening? Gosh, what if it hadn't been the Shadow Thief? What if it turned out to be the MF Enterprises Dr. Fate? Can you imagine?
I'm imagining it right now. When I write my DC comic.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I'll be doing.
Yes, I'll be buying all the variant covers for that comic. You'd be assured. I'll be getting them put into my standing order. Definitely.
Yes, I'll be drawing them all, sadly.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, this was good. I mean, I don't really feel I've got too much to add. You're right. I mean, everything you said about it being a retro old school.
Yeah.
Everyone split into small groups and everyone getting good use of their powers. I mean, I love Canary using her Sonic thingy to break out of the ice. That was cool.
Yeah, that was good.
And I like the idea of all the cold villains teaming up. I'm pretty sure there's an issue of the Justice League Adventures comic where some of the cold villains team up. And as I've very little in the way of bonus material for this issue, I might dig that out and stick that on the socials this week. So we've got something else to maintain our content pipeline.
Yeah, it was fun to see Hawkman being a detective
Yes.
and working out all the clues that were there in plain sight, because obviously it's his old villain, so he knows him very well.
Yeah, that was true. I mean, on reading this through in prep,
Mhm.
I'd read it vaguely before, but reading it through properly in prep, it was quite a surprise at that point, because I was sort of thinking, right, is there going to be someone else behind it? I was trying to think, is Mr. Freeze going to turn up?
Oh gosh, they missed him, didn't they?
Because
Yeah.
Batman didn't get very much to do in this story, and I was sort of wondering,
No.
as I was reading it, I was sort of thinking, right, Batman conspicuously doesn't have anything to do. Is Mr. Freeze going to turn up, and is Batman going to get to fight him?
Yes.
No.
It'd be quite funny if Batman was just constantly looking over the three villains' shoulders going, he must be due now. Surely he's coming at some point.
Yes, looking at his bat watch and thinking, where is he? Where is Mr. Freeze? Etc.
You know what? I completely forgot about Mr. Freeze when you said that there. I was, of course, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's just because I was thinking about that Just League Adventures cover that I'll dig out and post. Aye, this was fun. There's no other way about it.
Yeah.
I think we both enjoyed it, and I think this is the opportune moment to leap to the contemporary correspondence.
Yeah, so listeners, dig out your copy of issue 143 of Justice League of America.
Which is very interesting because the first letter in it is from someone called Craig Baldwin, and he's a bit down on this issue. He describes the Atom's little speech about feeling ineffective as pretentious, and he's a bit dismissive about the Phantom Stranger turning up being a bit contrived. And we're like, well, Craig, just because of that, we're not going to read the rest of your letter. In fact, Peter will now read the next letter, which goes like this.
Dear editor, the Ice Age cometh. Now, that was spectacular. Plot, action and characterization were first rate. I especially liked the use of Minister Blizzard, because I'd never seen him before. Atom and Aquaman discussing the limitations of their powers, the appearance of the Phantom Stranger, the continuity references to the Top's death, the Secret Society of Supervillains, and Icicle's activities on Earth too. I had my doubts about Steve's ability to handle the JLA, but not anymore. He's got more than what it takes, and that's from Fraser Sherman, from Oberlin, Ohio.
Gosh, no editorial response, but the next letter reads, Steve Englehart is doing to the JLA what should have been done years ago. He's humanising them. Sure, I know that they're exceptional, have superpowers, but they should still have emotions, especially outstanding with the Atom's feelings of uselessness, Wonder Woman's peevishness, WW and Black Canary's anger at being given the traditionally female role of nursemaid, Canary's apparent feeling of misplacement on Earth-1, and Aquaman's trying to rationalise something I don't think he himself believes in, that he is useful. And one more thing Steve's done that I'll be eternally grateful for, he's had the Phantom Stranger pop up and disappear again within a page. That was great. The JLA's mystification towards PS and his powers is always interesting, something even they don't understand. And that's from Lee Walkner, Absicon no Joyzy. And the final letter goes like this.
The Ice Age cometh had much of Steve Englehart's best. The return of almost forgotten foes, the new application of old facts, like Shadow Team's Dimensiometer causing the Ice Age, and of course, the characterization. At least the Leaguers are acting like real people. By the way, I love Steve's cameo as Esteban Corazon, Stephen Hart, the president of Ecuador, when he told the JLA, you were from another world, something too burlesque. I believe in you now. I couldn't help but smile. Nice touch, Steve. And that's from William Nutt from Dover, New Jersey.
I have no idea what William was talking about there in that last paragraph, to be honest. That went right over my head.
Listeners, do you know?
Yes, Alex, Chuck, anyone, please, Brian, someone can write and let us know. There's no real direct editorial response, but there's a nice paragraph when they're talking about suggested stars for a fantasized JLE movie. Obviously, Linda Carter being the choice for Wonder Woman, but someone is suggesting apparently the most consistent vote-getter is Farrah Fawcett Majors to play Black Canary, and they wonder how Lee Majors would look with a blonde beard and a moustache as Green Arrow. Well, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And next week's episode is going to be a lot of fun too, listeners. We have already recorded some of it, or I should say someone has already recorded some of it, and Pete and I will be recording the rest at our earliest convenience.
Absolutely. Now, listeners, what did you think of this story? Why don't you write to us and let us know? You can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you follow us on social media, because we're putting up some bonus material for this and, of course, every episode. On Facebook, Instagram and Blue Sky, we're at the Earth2 Podcast, and on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2, and it is, of course, the number 2 for all of our socials.
He ain't lying. Listeners, if you're feeling generous, you could consider going to wherever it is you receive your podcast and leaving us a positive review, or going to our coffee/comic page and buying us the price of a beverage or a publication, as our very good friend Alex Finney did just the day before we recorded this. Thank you, Alex. We really, really appreciate it. You're an absolute legend.
Yes, hugely.
Thank you for your continued support. We really do appreciate it. Listeners, if you're feeling that way inclined, don't feel obliged or anything, but it'd be lovely. So, as we said, the Justice League will return before too long as we cover the epic Manhunter story. I have to go off and soak my head and get prepped for that. Please join us next week, listeners, for a fun story with a twist in the tail.
Indeed. On that bombshell, I've been Peter.
And I've been David. Take care. We'll see you soon on the Earth 2 podcast.
Transmatter cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
Something I must confess to even burlesque when our patriotism needed what the hell is that?
I have no idea. I don't know what he's talking about.
That's fine.
Captain Cold says to one of his colleagues in the next panel, "What you talking about, Willis?" "What's he talking about, Blizzard?"